Should I invest in cryptocurrency? That and more with this week's guest, comedian and upcoming author, Madison Malloy. Giddy up.
The Fred Minnick Show is brought to you by 291 Colorado Whiskey, by Michter's, and by Heaven Hill Brands.
And joining the Fred Minnick Show, Madison Malloy. How you doing, Madison? You doing all right?
I'm so excited to do this. I haven't drank a lot of rum and whiskey in my life, so this will be very exciting. I wish it wasn't 8 a.m, but we're good.
Hey, you got to start at some point, right? I mean, the journey for tasting if it begins early in the morning, then your palate's fresh and ready. So this is good time.
Yeah, exactly. So no, I'm excited. I'm excited to meet you. I've heard so many great things about you, and I love the show. And
I appreciate it. You got a podcast yourself.
I do. Next to Madison, I've got to have you on there.
Yeah, that's the podcasting world. People don't realize how much work goes into it. Like this is like one of the most heavy lifting genres of media. If you're doing it by yourself, it's a lot of work.
It is. It's a lot. It's a lot. It's a lot more than people think. But it's worth it because of all the people that you can meet.
Yeah, and you also get to show your personality a little bit more. You can you're a comedian, so that stuff comes natural for you. But
I try.
As a writer, I'm a longtime writer. People just didn't know who I was really until I started doing podcasting and YouTubing. So that was a fun change of pace for me.
Yeah. So wait, what kind of writing do you do?
I've written. I love it. Yeah, I've written 7 books. Some on 4 on spirits, 1 on my experience in Iraq, another one on beef. Like I actually wrote a history book on Angus beef, and then so that's Whiskey Women, Rum Curious, Bourbon Curious, Bourbon Rice Fall, and then a book on mead, which is the world's oldest alcohol. That's a fermented honey. So
wow, that's fantastic. Well, congrats! I'm working on my first book right now, so
I saw that. What's it about?
So it's going to be a comedy, like a funny self-help book. So of all the struggles and obstacles that I seem to place in front of myself in the past, and how I was able to finally lift those and kind of step into, opportunities all around me versus, having these thoughts that totally held me back. And I figure I'm like, if this can save people from making the mistakes I did, then hey, I'm making the world a better place, and hopefully it'll expand my brand.
Yeah, and it's funny, like the world of like doing anything for yourself. You're your own worst critic, and you're your own worst enemy. And like we both get on stage, and like I see other people who have all the talent in the world. They can't. They don't do it, or they can't do it. They're afraid to do it. And there's so many elements of being human that it's frightening to take a risk sometimes, and it's easier just to do the same old. But I mean, if you have the secret to how to get out of your own way, that is going to be a huge bestseller.
Yes. And I mean, I have the tips that kind of worked for me, and really just kind of your mindset and putting your mortality at the forefront of your mind. And that's not to be a negative thing. It's to be a driving positive factor, because all the stuff that we seem to worry about, especially opinions of others, which is preventing the people you were talking about from getting on stage. What will people think of me? What if I don't do well? Well, if nobody was there, you would get on the stage. It's the opinions of others. It's really driving that fear. But if you knew you were going to die next week, would that fear be the same that it is right now? The problem is most of our problems, we're living in a mindset that we're going to live forever.
I was just thinking about that today, actually. I was walking my kids home. Yeah, as I was walking home, I was like, because we have some loved ones in the hospital right now, and that time is coming.
I'm sorry.
and you know, so just it's top frame of mind right now. But that is true. Like we don't we often want to ignore or even think about mortality, and that's been, and also the people who don't, like I was a 21-year-old soldier at one point, and I felt like I could run through a wall, you know. So there's the opposite effect there. Like if you don't recognize it, you know what, maybe running through that wall or jumping off that cliff doing a flip is not going to end up in the best result. You know, maybe
Right.
it's, you know.
Yeah,
So
no, it's true. And like time is precious and you just got to do, what you have to do. And none of us know when we're going to go,
yeah, that's so
you know?
true.
So it's like, forget all the stuff. Cause I feel like everything that holds us back is really driven by obviously fear,
Mm-hmm.
but fear is driven by the opinions of others.
It's true. And one of those opinions is drinking at 8 o'clock in the morning. A lot of people would
Yeah,
find that to be you know, an untasteful thing to do. But if we do it responsibly, right, it's going to be all right. You know, so that's what we're going to do here today.
perfect. Am I allowed to spit in this tasting if I need to?
Absolutely. In fact, I recommend we both spit because we got a long day. Does that sound good?
Yeah.
So
that
we'll
is that
taste
is very true.
we'll taste a little bit and we'll spit. And actually, professionally, we do spit because like you don't want to if we're taste like when I'm in a spirits competition, we have to
Hmm.
taste thousands of products. And if we drink them all, we'll pass out. Speaking of mortality, you'll pass out drunk and often way too much. So yeah,
Yeah.
first time anyone's asked that though. So thank you.
Hey, no problem. I didn't want to just be spitting on your podcast, then everyone would realize why I'm single.
As long as you don't spit on the camera, right? You'll be all right.
Yeah, no, I don't want to do that. I don't want to ruin the computer I have right now. It's my lifeline.
So we are tasting rum today, and I did write a
Oh,
rum book called Rum Curious, the guide to the world spirit, and we are tasting rum from Saint Lucia. This is Chairman's Reserve, 1931.
okay.
Rum Barbancourt or Barbancourt from Haiti. This is a 15-year-old rum. And then we have a 3-year-old from Colorado, MONTANYA.
Oh,
So
nice.
we have whiskey from around the globe. Your package will be labeled A, B, and C.
Uh-huh.
And I actually usually I don't know. I don't know what we're tasting, but I do on this particular time because I did the pouring. I am right now without an assistant, so I'm having to do my own pouring, and so that's harder to do the blind
Yeah.
on these. So what we're going to do is we are actually going to start with glass A, and I'll tell you a little bit about rum. Rum is a very important spirit for the world. It was a part of the sugarcane trade, where it was a part of power, in the 1700s,
Okay.
and so it was widely consumed, widely preferred, and it was made in the islands, very very consistently. It was also made throughout the United States, mostly in the northeastern region. New England became very famous for it. But rum is essentially distilled molasses, and in some cases, it's distilled sugarcane juice.
Okay.
But it is what happens after distillation. It varies, per where it's made. There are some areas where it's really big and heavy, like the St. Lucian one will have. It'll be big and heavy, and it'll be a blend of pot and column, and it's distilled molasses, and it's particularly blended. There's other places like Puerto Rico where it'll be a little thinner, and it's meant more for like mixing. Not that the heavier styles are not made for mixing. It's just they're distilled at higher proofs, and there's more stripped out of them, and so they tend to get caught up in the mixing side. Now, there's a lot of controversial stuff with rum. It's connected to slavery. It is today, the U.S. government pays for the distillery in St. Croix for Captain Morgan, and they have like cover over taxes. And there's all kinds of political stuff that goes with rum that makes it very difficult for a small company to compete in the rum space. So everyone's always like, rum's the next spirit to take off. It's never going to take off because of all the things that weigh it down, from a structure standpoint. And it's sad because it's such a beautiful spirit. So
That is so interesting. I didn't know any of that.
yeah, it doesn't get taught. It doesn't make the newspapers. It's just kind of like, if people were to find out that Bacardi gets subsidies, and then it gets pays very similar taxes to the 1950s, I think they would be shocked. But and if that Captain Morgan receives money directly from the U.S. government to basically pay for its facilities, and they found out the majority, like 100% of, they make it almost cost free, and that means they have all this money for marketing, making it more difficult for other brands to get on the shelf because they're at a disadvantage. It's almost like playing a baseball game, and Captain Morgan and Bacardi are on second and third base when you get up to bat. So that's the equivalent. It's tough.
So how did they get these government subsidies?
So it all goes back to when they were folded in. So Bacardi, they came from Cuba. They were exiled from Cuba, and this was one of the ways that the U.S. government, lured them into Puerto Rico and like created a partnership with them because they were very important at that time, and they still are. They're still very important. And Bacardi is a really great company, but like their distillery in Puerto Rico does not, receive the same kind of like tax scrutiny as other distilleries. And in the Virgin Islands, St. Croix, they had that was actually operated by the government. When we purchased the Virgin Islands from Denmark, we operated as a government, operated the distilleries, and there was actually a product out called government rum, and it did not do well. They always, lost money on the distilleries, and they continuously had to come back to Congress asking for more money. And so the idea came of like, well, why don't we give to this a private company, and then we'll just like pay them to operate it. And so it became less of a burden on the U.S. government to do it that way. However, and the whole thing is like that, it creates jobs, it does all this stuff for the island. And so if they're territories, right? So they're not actual states. So there's an interest from the government to, have them operating efficiently and making money, but they don't get the same benefit as being a state. But they also don't get the same like tax burden as being a state. So that's a little bit behind it, and it's politics that really go back to the 1940s and 50s and 60s.
Wow.
And every now and then it'll make the news on a slow news day. Like when Obama approved, I think it was $400 million, something like that, to St. Croix. That made the news, but it was also a very slow news day. Typically it doesn't make the news.
Interesting. That is so, like, I don't think every time I go to drink, I don't drink a lot of rum, but when I do, it'll just have a different kind of feeling in a way,
Yeah, I was interested. Like when I offered you the menu of what to drink, you gravitated toward rum pretty quickly.
Yes, because whiskey, I probably should get used to whiskey, but it always made me feel a little nauseous.
Well, maybe you taste it the right way. You can apply the techniques here today to whiskey. Maybe next time it's not so bad. So let's go ahead and start with glacé. So
okay. So I've got A
So
here.
bring A to your nose
Okay.
and smell with your mouth open just a little bit. And go side by side. And when you smell with your mouth open, you're actually relaxing your olfactory, and you're able to pick up more than just the alcohol fumes. And you go side by side, you'll notice that each nostril is picking up different stuff.
Ah.
It's like in my right nostril, definitely it'll get a little bit more of the spiciness. And the left one is, more of the sweeter stuff. Now, that
Interesting.
big kind of punchy, deep smell you get there,
Yeah.
that's molasses. So you're smelling the molasses and the oils, and it's to me it's really beautiful. I love this. This is like one of my favorite smells in all spirits. And then when you taste, you want to put just a little bit on your tongue and think about what part of the tongue is it resonating. Is it the tip, middle, back, middle, or the sides? And then we go back in and we think about that area and what flavor. So the goal here is to connect your brain to your palate. So let us taste.
Okay.
Cheers.
So I just put a little bit on my tongue.
Mm-hmm. All right, general thought. What's
I'm only spitting because it's 8 in the morning.
All right, let's take. What part of the tongue is it hitting?
I feel like the sides.
Okay.
I don't know if it's because I held it there for a while.
So sides are where we get our bitter notes. Like there's a lot of bitter vegetables and fruits that are out there, but like that's often people get bitter notes on the sides of their tongue.
Yeah.
So
okay.
So let's taste it again, and let's think about what is that flavor. So think about the bitter things you've had in your life, and I would also say don't be afraid to let yourself go toward the sweet bitterness.
Okay.
Like there are dark chocolates that can be really, really bitter. So
yeah.
So taste again and see what is resonating there.
Okay. It's like a little bit of sweetness.
Mm-hmm.
Is that the molasses?
Yeah, it most definitely could be.
It's like a licorice type, black licorice a little bit.
Get a little black licorice action. Yeah, that could fall on the bitterness trail. Yeah.
Yeah.
Overall, is this something that you would find yourself gravitating toward, sipping a little bit?
I don't know. I feel like I have to taste the other ones to decide.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if I'm totally. So which one is this?
This one is the St. Lucia.
Okay.
So this is the St. Lucia Chairman's Reserve, 1931.
So this is a very expensive bottle.
Yeah. I don't know the price on it right away. Let me go to our friend Google.
Yeah.
Do you like Google?
I had a guest on my podcast recently. The episode's coming out soon. He started a decentralized search engine called presearch.org. I think it's going to be presearch.com soon. Mm-hmm. But you actually get paid in their native token, their crypto token, every time you search. And it doesn't sell your data, it keeps all your privacy. So I've been defaulting to presearch.org because why not make money on what you're doing anyways? So yes, check that out for sure.
Okay. Yeah, you're into crypto, right?
I love crypto. Definitely. So much, it really is such a new space and so much to learn, and had a lot of crypto people on my podcast, and it's just been eye-opening just to learn about all this new technology and kind of new innovative ways that are going to change the world.
I have had I've studied the NFT space, and I know about crypto.
Yeah.
I personally have not invested in it because my advisor, my financial advisor, has told me it's too risky, and I'm a as an investor, I would say I'm pretty conservative. I don't, and I always have been.
Yeah.
I don't take big risks. But you know, one of the things that has fascinated me is like how the youth is so involved with crypto, and the older generations, you know, typically look at it as like evil Satan money, you know, or something. You know, it's really fascinating to me culturally how crypto has played out. And
So what I will tell you is the financial advisors they either need to step up or they're going to get left behind. It's such a volatile market that it's hard for them to kind of wrap their brains around it and analyze the risks for their clients, like what risks they're willing to take. So what I suggest always is I have a financial advisor for, you know, my stocks, but primarily my retirement type accounts. And then you take the money that you can kind of gamble or invest. Let's say, you know, you take $2,000. If you lose it, you're not gonna starve to death. But at least it's enough to kind of, you know, start making a difference and kind of getting into the game. So it's like going to Vegas in a way, right? I think there's more long-term, obviously, you know, strategy, and there's a really good, you know, roadmap and utility behind these. So it's better than Vegas. But if you're kind of risk averse, then it could be that way. So I would always take, and now is a really good time to start kind of dabbling into these markets because we're kind of really heading into a bear market, and I'm not sure how long it's going to be here. It could be here for a while. Everything's on sale. So you're really getting those prices that people thought, oh, I wish I'd heard about, let's say Cardano. I wish I had heard about Cardano. I feel like I'm too late because of the whole bear market. They're back to very, very low prices, but the company's not going anywhere and the blockchain is stronger and there's all these new things. So eventually that one's going to bounce back. But it is true. There's probably 12,000 tokens, 90% of which will go to zero. But there are your really strong utility ones, which is your Cardano and your Algorand, your Bitcoin and your Ethereum, and, you know, several others that aren't going anywhere. I can always help you with that, but we can do that after when we're sober.
Well, it's always for me. I'm never gonna do more. But thanks. Yeah, that's interesting. You know, thought there, and you've seen like people like Bill Maher come out and talk about how crypto is really bad for the environment because it requires so much energy and electricity to power, and you know, so I mean, I've been following it from as a news item for a while. So
yeah,
I'm definitely into like learning more.
So the one that they're claiming is bad for the environment because it uses a lot of energy is the Bitcoin, which is their protocol is a proof of work, which requires these miners to be able to solve the equation, so to say, on the blockchain. So in 100 years, that'll be done because all the remaining Bitcoins will be mined at that point. But all the new blockchains that are starting, either layer ones or layer twos, they are all proof of stake, which is basically just kind of pay to play. You know, you put your coins in a bucket and then you get yield on them, essentially. So even Ethereum was proof of work that had miners running is they're trying to move to Ethereum 2.0, which will be proof of stake. So they'll be getting away from that. So it's only the Bitcoin that's really kind of the environmental thing, and a few others. But I think that the proof of work is a more complicated protocol. So there's new ones that are kind of pumping out. So
got it. Well, yeah. Like I said, I am not an investor in it. But I watch it from the sidelines.
Maybe you will be this week, and then you're going to call me in 6 months and say, Madison, I just made all this money. You're my lifesaver. Where can I send you as a thank you? I'm just kidding.
it'll be more rum as we're going to Glass B. As long as you know, I'm hoping that you come out of this as a big rum fan. So
Me too.
And I do believe your home state is Colorado, correct?
It is.
Yeah. So I sent this with that in mind. This is
Okay.
made in Colorado in the, let me tell you exactly the town, because I don't know the
This is
town it's
B?
made in. This is made in Butte, Colorado. Crested Butte, Colorado.
Yes, Mountain Town.
Yeah. And like the elevation of
Yeah.
Colorado is fascinating to me because it can change what you taste in your individual self, but it also can change how how something is made. Like
Oh, yeah.
like the things are just different there. The higher you go up, the more it's different. So remember your training. Remember your training, Madison.
Yep.
And let's smell and let's taste this.
This is the B one, right?
This is B.
So this one smells more like it's more fragrant.
It definitely does have some floral to it.
Yeah.
Mm.
I think this is the first podcast I've ever spit on.
Well, it's
It's oaky. I
okay.
don't. I'm right now. I'm leaning more towards A than B.
Okay.
I'm not a big woodsy oaky. Like when I order wines, I always say a little more buttery.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So what kind of foods do you like?
Um, I like Asian foods and Mexican food.
Spicy.
Healthy.
Yeah, spicy stuff. Do you like ceviches?
Yes, love it.
I love ceviche. It's like
Yeah.
probably my favorite thing to eat right
Yeah.
now anyway.
It's like healthy too, you know?
Yeah, so when you get into oak, oak can be, I'm very sensitive to oak as well, and it can be like it can be debilitating for me when I taste something. Like I want it to, oak can be a part of a taste profile, but it can't be the most dominant thing. And as a taster, everybody has their own criteria. Everybody has the things they like, and I think it's a preference play. So.
Exactly. So if
Yeah.
somebody did like that more of an oaky flavor, they would probably really like this.
Yeah. Now, are you still doing a lot of stand-up comedy?
Not as much. I've moved more towards the producing side and creating primarily reality television shows. So we've got some that can't be announced yet, but in development.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so I'm more on that angle. I might do some more comedy, but I just felt more doors were opening for me, and the money will be better.
Yeah, and I mean
and the lifestyle.
That's a tough road. Stand-up comedian, like
yeah, and I loved it, and I'm heading back to. I've been in Denver for a while. I'm gonna head back to New York for like 6 weeks, and that's kind of where my home base is for comedy, and so I'll get on stage when I have time and I'm not in meetings, and I think it's gonna be more fun for me because I don't care.
Mm-hmm.
It's not my career. Like I'll get back on the stage as a public speaker with some jokes, but it's not my full driving force, which means, of course, what's going to happen? It's going to take off because I don't care. It's like all the pressure of I've got to nail this, and what if this person gone, because everything else is working out so beautifully. So it's like, I like to go to bed at 10. I know that sounds awful, but I do. And I like to get up at 5. I'm like an old lady. It's kind of hard for a comedian, but I do miss the road sometimes. I really like the road.
Yeah, and also you know the pandemic probably pushed you, you know, to make some decisions for the healthier side as well. I'd imagine on that.
Hmm.
You know.
Oh yeah, and it's been great. It's just, it's as a comedian, you keep working on your stuff and you struggle and you struggle and you struggle and it's fun. You got to really love it because there's so difficult. But it's like you're on stage every night just looking for outside validation,
Mm,
and you don't know if you're going to get it. I mean, you could be the funniest person, but you don't look the right way. You could be the funniest person, but you're too old. There's so many different factors. I'm going to talk about this in my book as well. Really about validating yourself and why that's so important. And then when I kind of stepped into more of the creating shows and executive producing, it's just because I have a financial background and I worked on Wall Street and I love business. It was just a natural, organic fit, and I was good at it. And
mm-hmm.
I was able to get into rooms where I was no longer just talking to casting directors. I was actually now dealing with CEOs.
Wow.
And I felt more comfortable. I felt like we're on the same page. We're doing things, and I'm coming to you, not asking for you to say, please discover me, give me an opportunity. It was more, hey, I got this idea. I think you can make a shitload of money. Let's do it. You in? Yeah. And that's what people want. I always tell my friends this. I said, never come at somebody with and be just a taker. Say, this is what I need from you. This is what I need from you. Go in and show them what you can do for them.
Right.
It'll always open that door. So if you come to them with a great project and you're choosing them and they can see the dollar signs, it's a different story versus just saying, I really just want my big break. It's probably not going to work.
Yeah. Now I want to go back to the on stage for a minute with you.
Uh-huh.
Being a comedian, we're all when I think of comedians on the road, my first place goes to the heckler. Like, do you have any good heckler stories that from someone in the audience?
You know, People were actually very nice to me, which was great. I didn't have to deal with a lot. I did have one guy one time yell out from the crowd, "You're too pretty to be a comedian." And so I just came back with, I said, "Oh, okay. Well, why don't you come up here and I'll sit on your face while I finish my set, so you don't have to see me." You know.
What would you have done if he came up on the stage?
I would have sat on his face with my pants.
That's a good comeback, actually. That's a really good comeback.
But yeah, I was actually pretty lucky. I mean, I don't do a lot of controversial stuff. It was more self-deprecating stuff. I could see
Right.
if you're really dancing into more of those like heated areas like politics, which is why I avoided it like the plague. You
Right.
could get some drunk, angry people. But yeah, comedy is an amazing art form, and which is why in my book when it comes out, you'll see a lot of my stand-up start to come into
Awesome.
play. So
Yeah,
it was
it's
like, oh, I knew I was writing these jokes for a bigger reason.
so there's all this there's a lot of comedians who will say it's hard to be a comedian today. You know, Jerry Seinfeld's came out with that talking about
Mm.
like, getting canceled. Um and I don't know where I stand with that because I feel like a lot of the jokes that people would do were not funny. They were just mean and like Don Rickles. Don Rickles,
Oh
well,
yeah,
I mean he's the extreme. And his jokes were racist. They were all over the place. But
yeah.
I I don't know. He was able to exist. Even in a time where political correctness was alive and well. He got a little bit of business, but not as much as I would have expected him to get. But like, where do you stand with comedians, like in cancel culture and everything? Is it overbalanced? Are we looking at something that it is the end of comedy, or is it just being overblown?
No, I don't. It's absolutely not the end of comedy. I think that people have had to learn to kind of re-navigate the space, rework some jokes, but at the same time, you have people like Chappelle, but he's in a financial position to do that, where he's like, no, this is what I'm talking about. If you don't like it, don't watch it and don't book me. I'm good.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a lot of people that are up and coming that are not in that position and can get canceled. But what I think is honestly happening is it's like a pendulum, right? Your life, the whole world is like this. You go from one end and then it's starting. So what's happening is it's swinging all the way. And I think we're almost at that point where it's just going to snap back to the middle. And we're going to kind of go back to those ways of saying sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. We lost that along the way. Words are not supposed to hurt you. Like, stop with it, especially if you're in a comedy club. And if you're a sensitive human being, don't go to a comedy show. Just don't. Yeah. It's just stupid. It's like if you are prone to, diabetes, don't go to a sugar factory. Just don't do it.
Now, switching gears a little bit, what did you think about Will Smith slapping Chris Rock?
Well, it was completely unprofessional. I mean, that's like what a college kid would do when he's had too much rum. Like, what was he thinking? And Chris Rock is such, I mean, first of all, Chris Rock is a comedian. Will Smith is not. He's a comedian. He's going to do the jokes. Yeah, granted, it wasn't a comedy club. Maybe it wasn't the right context. He didn't understand what Jada was going through. But a mature person who's happy with himself would have maybe shooken his head at it and maybe rolled his eye. But you don't charge the stage in front of the whole world and physically assault somebody. He could have then pulled Chris aside after the show when the cameras aren't on and said, hey, you really crossed the line. It hurt my feelings. And this is why. The
biggest stage you can get as an actor. He walks right up there and slaps him. Then later wins an Oscar. So I mean,
but I think he's actually banned now.
Yeah, he's got a 10-year suspension.
Yeah, and then I mean, what will he he'll be like in his 60s. He'll be back. I mean, I'm not saying I don't like Will Smith. What I'm saying is he obviously needs a little bit of counseling. Just because react that way, it's always good to be responsive, not reactive. And obviously he was extremely reactive in that moment.
There's there's definitely a lot of stuff going there in his life. His wife was openly, with other men. His son.
Oh, that's true. I forgot about they're banging all their neighbors or something like that.
Yeah, and then his son wants separation. I feel for the guy. I mean, I hope he gets himself in a better place. That's for sure.
Yeah, and obviously that Chris was just I feel like the icing on the cake compared to. Yeah,
he may have been more. He may have been more than that. There could be more backstory. I mean, who knows? Yeah. Who knows? But I at first I thought it was it was put on. But the more, you read about it and look into it, you're like, no, that was a spur of the moment human reaction. That was real. Yeah. So, So let's go to Glass C after this thorough, intense conversation here. Let's go to Glass C, the Haitian rum, 15 years old.
Perfect. Okay.
Rum Barbancourt or Barbancourt, however you want to pronounce it. So this is... remember I told you some rum is made from molasses, which is a byproduct of making sugar. This is made from sugarcane juice, which is the pressed sugarcane. And this is year in, year out, one of my favorite rums. Is it? I love this rum.
Okay, so
I buy as much of this as I can. Remember your training.
I know, I just had to do water. Should I just be holding it on my tongue a little bit?
Yeah, it doesn't need a lot of time on there. Yummy.
I just caught a glimpse of my face and I was like, ugh. No, it's not bad.
Where you going?
It's not bad. I would say A is my favorite though.
A is your favorite?
Yeah.
So your
This one, I
champion,
really feel the licorice on my middle of my tongue.
your
Like almost
champion
like a burny
is
feeling.
Saint Lucian Reserve. That's a good pick. That's a good pick. Big,
St. Lucia.
and you picked what most rum geeks would pick in this tasting.
Really?
Yeah.
So why is the last one your favorite?
Oh, I didn't say it was my favorite. I said it's one of my favorites.
One of your favorites. Okay.
Well, yeah, one of my favorites. No, you know, it has some complexity to it. You know, it's not as big. So the Saint Lucian rum, which was Glass A, is big, bold, right up in there, all over the palate. It lasts on the palate. It's oily. It's got molasses in there. It's got that black licorice note you really like. And it's just all right there. With the Haitian rum, the Barbancourt, you have to look a little harder, you know. But it's when you find it, you know, you'll find it's got some complexities there that are just outstanding. And that's kind of, you know, to me, that's the beauty of sipping, is that you find things in products when you look for them and when you're thinking about them. It's almost like reading a book. You know, I've read a lot of books in my life, but when I read a book again, it can have a different meaning to me. You know, it can
Yeah.
have a different feel. So,
Oh, totally. Yeah, so maybe I'll have a different feel. You know what the other thing too is I did have because it's so early, I had coffee.
yeah, well, I
And
had coffee.
coffee's a
Yeah.
pretty bitter, so that could be
Coffee
affect some of the flavors too.
coffee is like breathing. Somebody asked me once, like, if you could give up whiskey or coffee, which would you give up? I was like if you had to give up one, I was like, well, I can live without whiskey. I mean, I love whiskey. That's where I would make my living. But you take
Yeah.
coffee away from me, I got my gloves on. I'm ready to fight. You know, don't
Yeah,
take my
exactly.
coffee.
How many cups are you drinking a day?
Well, I'm trying to cut back, but I start the day out with 2, and then I'll have one in the afternoon.
Oh, that's not bad.
Yeah,
Are you
well,
doing it black or with all the cream and sugar?
I just, you know, I get a pot going, and I just stick my mouth right underneath it, and it's like
there you
it all comes right in there. And then
Yeah.
sometimes I'll mainline it, you know. But,
Yeah. I know. I finally got to black coffee. I started with like coffee with cream and Splenda, and then I went to coffee with cream, and then I went to coffee with almond milk, and then finally somebody was like, just drink black coffee. Like you will
Yeah.
get used to it, but you're cutting out all the extra calories that you don't realize are you know, they add up quickly, or the artificial sweeteners. So now I'm on black coffee, so I feel like I'm drinking coffee, but I'm drinking it the healthiest way.
Yeah, that's right. No, black coffee is how I've always had it. The only time I would put cream or sugar in it was when it was Army coffee, and that stuff would be like
Mm.
5 years old and like some kind of tank. And I'm pretty sure they,
Oh,
you know, that we had coffee that was, you know, liquefied from 30 years ago. It was just so disgusting, but it got the job done. Like it would like brighten your eyes and you'd wake up.
yeah,
So
exactly. Well, first of all, thank you for your service.
I appreciate that.
Yeah,
But
it
it
sounds
like
amazing.
you want to talk about some comedy, good old fashioned Army dry humor. There's no better comedy in the military than a porta potty. You walk in there, you know, everyone's got their little jokes written on the wall, and yeah, the graffiti in a porta potty on a U.S. military base or a fob or something.
Yeah,
That's
oh my, I can only imagine.
that's some funny stuff. Some good
Yeah,
routine.
where did you fight or train?
You know, most notably Iraq, and
Okay.
that was 2004, 2005, and yeah. So that's been got my boots right behind me, or right behind me over here.
Oh no, wow.
Mhm.
And so how was your adjustment back to the
Oh,
States and the real after going
it
through that?
sucked. Yeah, I mean that was kind of like how I got to where I am. Was I I basically, you know, I met a woman who's now my wife and mother of my 2 kids,
Oh, nice.
and you know, she was the difference between me and like being homeless. But I
Wow.
got myself in therapy, and I learned aromatherapy and taste mindfulness after I got out of the danger zone of therapy, if you will.
Uh-huh.
And was when I was learning how to live. I learned how to taste and smell in a way that is enhances your life versus just going through the motions, if you will. And that was kind of how I became. That was one of my steps to becoming a taster. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Amazing how everything kind of happens in our lives and guides us on the right, path. I don't know what you are, but I'm like very religious, and I always rely on like God and Him leading. And
mm-hmm.
I feel that every time something like doesn't work out, or something unfortunate happens, or I'm bummed, it's really Him guiding you to a better place. And you sacrificed your own life for the freedom of our country, and then you were guided in the right, put with the right direction, your wife, and being able to have that training that's now made you a super successful, spirits person with a great podcast and books. And like, what a gift, like you were shown your gift.
Everything, as they say, everything happens for a reason, right?
I
So
totally agree with that.
yeah,
And that's why you got to just stay in faith, and, just realize like, okay, this didn't work. I'm bummed, or I'm struggling with this, but there's got to be a reason for it. I'm going to get through it.
yeah. Well, cheers to you, Madison. Thanks for coming on and for
Thank you so
educating me
much for
on
having me. This was amazing.
crypto. What's the piece of crypto I need to go buy? You said. What'd you say it was?
Um, I would
Cur-
suggest Algorand, which is ALGO, the
All right.
ticker, or Cardano is another good layer one blockchain, which is ADA.
Okay.
And then, Bitcoin and Ethereum are, they're just good big kind of blue chips in a way. But you can get a lot more of Algorand and a lot more of Cardano. And there's some other smaller coins, but I would start with that. But set yourself up with a Binance.us account. I like them. Their fees are low. They're easy to use.
Okay.
And, you just do your KYC, which is verifying who you are, upload your address, proof of address, license. Then you can transfer money in and buy it. It's really kind of simple. And once I think you're doing it on your own, and you can set limit orders, like I think you'll start being like, this is kind of cool. This is fun.
Yeah. All right.
Those are two ones that I think are good, and they're cheap right now.
That's what I
Like,
like. I like me some cheap.
they're like 40 something cents. I didn't check the market this morning,
Okay.
but they've been both of them have been over $2. So, and the thing is that they're very undervalued because the blockchains are very good. And Algorand just partnered with like the World Soccer Organization to be the first sports organization to run on a blockchain. Got billions of dollars behind them.
Okay.
So those are good ones. I don't think you'll be sad, but what I'm saying is stick that money in, buy those coins, and just forget it for a while.
Okay.
If I see something really ramping up, I'll say get your principal out, because then it's like at least you're running on free money at that point.
All right. All right. I'm going to take a look. So everybody go check out Madison Malloy, and you got a new book. You got a book coming out. The podcast is next to Madison. So check it out. And I'd say where are you going to be next? But you're pulling back on comedy, on doing stand up. So
I know I'll probably be doing some spots around New York City in July, but
okay.
There will be a tour coming up. It's just going to be more of a funny public speaking tour. So
all right,
look out for those things.
How can people find you?
So pardon me. On Instagram, I'm at Next to Madison. The podcast is Next to Madison, available on all podcast platforms. On Twitter, I'm at Madison Malloy. And those are kind of the main places. So definitely come and check it out. The podcast is great. It's a podcast to make you happier, healthier, and wealthier. So the two cryptos that I mentioned to Fred, two of the head guys from both Cardano, the founder of Cardano, and then the COO of Algorand, were both on very fascinating conversations. So definitely check those out.
Okay.
Give you more of an insight of what I'm talking about when I say buy it.
Love it. Well, thanks for coming on. I'm excited about your journey, and I can't wait to read the book.
Yes, and I can't wait to have you on my podcast. So let's get that done.
Let's do it.
All right.
After I get some Bitcoin in, and we can break it down from there.
Exactly. There you
Oh,
go.
I just said Bitcoin. No, I meant crypto. Yeah, I just
Crypto,
loosely
yeah.
say Bitcoin. So.
Which is Bitcoin. Bitcoin is crypto. It's just
Right.
there's so many.
It's kind of like bourbon is a whiskey, but not all whiskey is bourbon. That's a whole nother conversation.
Exactly. That's true.
All right. Well, thank you for your time. Have a wonderful rest of the day. I know it's early in the morning, so you got some rum in your belly now. Hope it's a good day.
It's going to be a great day. All right. Thank you so much.
Cheers, my friend.
All right. Cheers. Bye.
Bye-bye.